what on earth is the National Rugby League up to? I mean, sport at its best is supposed to unite us. The NRL instead is using sport and race politics to divide us. Now, I think it's already bad enough that the NRL has teams picked by race, like its Indigenous All Stars. I mean, shouldn't race in this country be irrelevant? Shouldn't we consider Australians of all races to be always on the same team? And whenever you start playing this race politics, it's all downhill, and so it's proved. Now the NRL has reportedly decided that this All Stars team won't have our national anthem played before its game with the Maori Stars in 3 weeks. Our national anthem, of course, is meant to unite us all, but it no longer applies to this NRL race-based team. And that's because some young players have refused to sing the anthem at past All Stars games.
Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare.
They've also refused to sing the anthem at State of Origin games. All Stars captain Cody Walker says that's because the anthem doesn't represent him and his family. And I doubt just rejigging a word here or there would help. He said the anthem just brings back memories, so many memories from what's happened in our history. So, would any truly national anthem ever satisfy him and the others? In fact, it seems to me that the racial grievance business rather suits some. When Latrell Mitchell, for instance, was dropped from the New South Wales team last year after his terrible performance against Queensland, he actually claimed he was dropped because he hadn't sung the anthem. Well, that was in fact a false accusation which infuriated the New South Wales Rugby League. But here are two things to say about this stuff. First, what possible good can come of dividing ourselves like this? Is this really how our future is supposed to look in the century ahead? One race here, another one there, each counting up their grievances and dragging up the past? How's it supposed to work, really? But there is something else. One of the things that I think is actually behind these brave stands against the national anthem and now this push for constitutional recognition, it's a diversion. Doing that stuff is so easy. It costs nothing. And if you fail, that's actually good too, right? Because it's another excuse to call Australia racist. Good times. What is hard is what these activists are dodging. How many people in our southern cities particularly have the slightest clue what's really going on in some Aboriginal communities up north? Just today, we read about the far north Queensland town of Doomadgee, mostly Aboriginal. We read that police had to fly in 5 extra officers to Doomadgee after a mob of 40 locals stormed a house and firebombed the bedroom. We also read of rising violence there, fights in the streets, watched sometimes by hundreds of people, fights even by women, and also brawls in wars between the clans. A month ago, there was even much, much worse than that further north at Arakan. About 250, it was so bad, 250 people had to flee the town for safety after riots between 2 clans over a man who'd been allegedly murdered.
As it evolved, there was up to 200 to 250 people wandering around the streets of Arakan, all armed, all aggressive, and it became quite a dangerous situation for all present, as well as our staff, but also members of the public and other government agencies. By the time the sun came up this morning, there was a total of 6 houses completely destroyed and 2 other houses vandalised, so much so that they were completely uninhabitable.
Can you imagine the uproar if that had been a white town with 250 armed people roaming the streets looking for revenge and burning houses? You wouldn't hear the end of it. But no one wants to hear about this stuff. They're Aborigines, and no activists want to get involved in that. I bet people, maybe some of you are already switching off right now. Hey, don't show us that. It's racist, or it's all too hopeless, and it's certainly too hard. And that is the key here, isn't it? It's too hard. So why don't we all just make a fuss about the national anthem instead and keep the conversation onto how racist Australia is, because that is really easy, but it's also so unlikely to do us a scrap of good.